Hey, I'm Nikki Leonti from Start Your Own Family Daycare, and this video is for January. So if you haven't got the guide, the year guide that I put together, I did a year guide and topics for each month. So January, I was talking about Australia Day and library visits. And so today's topic is really talking about how library visits are a really important part of your program. So if you've got babies, it's not as important because I do find that, it's a bit tricky to take babies to a library. But if you've got some older kids and babies, then definitely it's a really great activity for the older children to be involved in. So when you go to the library, you want to be organized. So you want to have an idea of what you're looking for when you get there. So maybe you're going there, the kids might have been really into cars. I'm just going to use one of our examples. So they're really into cars. So you want to look for books that are about cars, maybe how cars run, or if you've got younger kids, maybe different, like picture book of cars and different types of cars, or race cars and, things like that, or people who fix cars. You want to have some kind of theme for when you go to the library visit. It just makes things a bit easier. Now, when you go there, the children are learning a whole heap. So they're learning about important elements of our community, such as the library. Librarians are important members of our community. They're looking at how systems work in society. So you have to borrow them. You have to have a card. You can only borrow a certain amount of books. So they're learning how that kind of system works in real life. The other elements that they're really learning about is obviously about books and about how books are stored and how people can borrow them. And then really you're encouraging them to create a love for books. So when you go to the library, let them kind of find their own books that they like, show them where the section is that's appropriate for them, even get the librarian involved, because that's a really important element too, so that kids know who they can ask when they go to the library if they don't know what they're looking for. So say you're at the kids section, and they've seen all these books, tell them they can pick up one book. So give them some guidelines, because they're like, whoa, look at all these books. There's books about Peppa Pig and there's books about dinosaurs and trucks, and I don't know what to do. So give them some guideline for being there, because that's going to be great for them to have an idea of what tasks they're actually doing, especially if they've never been to the library before. They may just go there and start pulling all the books out. So you want to give them some guidelines, and this is great to kind of do the day before or the week before you go, and chat about it in the car or on the walk there. So tell them they can get out one book, and everyone can sit down and read it together. They might only take 2 seconds and they're up for the next book, but that's okay. You've got to teach them to put that one book back, or there might be a storage shelf that the books go to before the librarian puts them back, and teach them all of these processes, because this is the key to our role as educators, is to teach them all the little bits that we already know and we take for granted, and you probably don't even think of them. But teach them all of the little simple steps they need to take to be able to participate in life and in a library situation. So it's so important. And down below, I've done a transcript for this video, so you can check out the page. I've put a transcript together, and you can also download it as an MP3. But if you want to get a little handout, I've put together the learning outcomes so that you can identify that and add that to your program. So I hope you've got a little bit out of it. At the end of your session, of your library session, you want to read a book with them, because that's obviously why you're there. You want to read at least one book with them, maybe a book for each child, depending how long the books are, and tell them they can borrow one book each. Depends on how your kids are. You'll know your kids. If they're really rough with books, say, look, we're not going to borrow any today, because we need to learn how to take care of them. But if they're great with books, then you could borrow them and then bring them back to your house and have them in your own library for a week or two, or however long you want to do that. And teach them that they're library books, so they have to be taken care of, and you might want to put them somewhere separate. So the children can get so many elements out of this library visit, and they're really learning about how they can participate in their community. But they're also learning about books. They're learning about how books are stored, and they've all got letters on them, so they're learning about that. Teach them about the structure of a book, so the book cover, who wrote it, who drew the pictures, where the words are and maybe get them to identify. If you've not done a guided reading experience, then you could do that now. And if you don't know how to do it, I'll quickly go through it. So you want to get your book out, show them the cover and say, what do you think this is about? And then go through it. And then turn the page and say, oh, look, this name down here is the person who wrote the book. And this person is the person who drew the pictures. Now turn the page. So what do you think is happening here? Get them to think about it, because sometimes they just read it and they're not really listening. The whole aim of a book is to get them to really be thinking. And so you want to go through and say, look, what do you think is going to happen next, or what's happening in the story? Who's your favorite character? Different types of questions to get them thinking in the story, because that's the whole importance of a guided reading experience, especially for the younger children, is to get them thinking about the book and think about how the book is unfolding. At the very end, before you turn the last page, say, what do you think is going to happen now? Get them really excited. Change your tone of voice. You want to get them excited about the story, not just the same story all the time. All right, so that is a really short element of how to do a short lesson of guided reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel, and you just have to click the little subscribe button, which is probably flashing up here, and come and check out my website. I'll put the learning outcomes in a little handout there about guided reading experience and learning library visits. And I will see you next month for our next installment of going through our whole year plan. So don't forget, there's loads of other videos I've put together, so don't forget to check those out. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.